Hello everyone. Welcome to your easy guide to English section for CLAT examination series. And this is the part 2 for previous year question paper 2025. So we've already done two reading comprehensions and now we are going to do the other two reading comprehensions. Okay. So let's start. So this is the third reading comprehension and we'll first, as we had discussed in the previous, in the part 1 of this lecture, that we will first quickly go through the questions so that we can understand what are the points that we will be highlighting or the points where we will be focusing our attention more sharply while reading the comprehension. Okay. So let's just quickly run through the questions and we don't really need to look at the options until and unless it is a vocabulary based question and we think that we know the question the word that has been asked for vocabulary. Okay, so which among the following is the word for phrase bright and colorful in an impressive way? So when as soon as you come across this phrase in the reading passage, so be very cautious or just sharpen your focus at that point because your answer will lie in that or the next line. Okay, so bright and colorful in an impressive way, so this phrase is going to be in the reading comprehension and we have to read it very carefully. Which among the following is not a trade or occupation represented in the pathway running through the town hall park? Okay, some if there is some trade or occupation mentioned in the passage, we'll pay attention to that. Who among the following used names like Bombay ice cream, Delhi almond, and Raja's delicacy to attract the crowd? So these phrases, Bombay ice cream, Delhi almond, Raja's delicacy, these are going to be there because they are written in quotes. So we are going to find these exact phrases in the reading comprehension. So again, the moment we come across these phrases, we'll have to sharpen our focus at that point. Which among the following is the meaning of the expression vociferous? So now here it is simply asking synonym of vociferous. It would be great if you know the meaning of this word. You can very clearly mark it here itself. If you do not know or if you have doubts, it's better you again you try to find this word in the reading comprehension and try to understand or confirm what you already are thinking about from the context, the meaning of vociferousness. So in this way, because you have to read the passage anyway, so in this way, if you have any doubts, that will help you clear if the meaning that you're thinking in your mind is true or not. Because if it is true, it will set in the context as well. When did the astrologer usually start his day's business? So again, if something of that sort is mentioned, you will pay attention to that. What was considered as prophetic light by the simple clients of the astrologer? So again, prophetic light or something like that, if you come across in the passage, you have to be very cautious about it. So now, because I have to explain it to you, so I am going through these very slowly. This is not the pace at which you will be reading. You will be just rushing through it. I hope you're clear about it by now that you don't have to go this slow. It's because I am explaining things to you. I have kept it slow because at this point we are practicing this skill. Okay, you have to be very quick about it. You have to just quickly rush through the questions and just see what is the main thing that is being asked in the question, the main points, for example, the phrase, the main context, so all those things. So if there's a phrase, you just have to keep that phrase in your mind until and unless you till the point you're reading the question, the comprehension. Okay, so punctually at midday, he opened his bag and spread out his professional equipment, which consisted of a dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic charts on it, a notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra writing. So here, if you can pay attention, you can see that here midday is being mentioned, and one of the questions asked you at what time does this person start his business. There was this question, no? When did the astrologer usually start his day's business? So at if you had kept this question in your mind, you will get your answer in the first line itself. So just mark it, or maybe just look at the this line and then read the question, because in your question paper it will be right below the question paper. I mean the right below the comprehension. You can just look at the passage and look at the question as well at the same time. So read the question again. If it fits there, just mark it. One question is solved in the like very first few seconds of reading the comprehension. Okay. So in this way, if you have read the question, you'll know when you come across the answer at that moment itself. It's not like you have to first read and then again you will have to look at the question and then again reread or try to find the answer. So that is why. But again, this is only possible as I mentioned in the previous passage as well. This is only possible if you have practiced it. Because if you're not practicing keeping those questions, the information that you've read in the question in your short term memory, you'll get confused because there's a lot of pressure during the exam, and in that adrenaline rush there are a lot of things going on, and you just keep getting confused about things. So if you have not practiced this enough, do not go for this pro level trick. Okay, this is a pro level technique, but it is only helpful when it is practiced. Otherwise, it might backfire. So please, please, please be very cautious about it. So this targeted reading and keeping the question in the short term memory is only helpful if you have practiced it. So please practice is enough. It enough. Okay. So let's get back to our passage. So punctually at midday, he opened his bag and spread out his professional equipment, which consisted of dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic charts on it, a notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra writing. So here we see that maybe some sort of truth-sayer or some pandit kind of person. This person is being described that every day at midday, this person starts his shop or business or whatever it is. It's not really a proper shop, but by roadside you see a lot of people who sit by the roadside or some with a table or chair that they can tell you your future, those kind of things. So this person starting his business, his day, his usual day is being described. So punctually at the midday he starts the business, and he's like he has cowrie shells because it's written, I think it's by ha R.K. Narayanan. So in those days cowrie shells were the used as currency in many parts. So a dozen cowrie shells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic charts on it. So obscure means something that is not very visible, and mystic is again um, related in a very godly manner but in a mysterious sort of way. So uh, you've seen those charts that are there in the Kundali kind of document. So that's obscure mystic charts on it. So obscure mystic is being used because it is not possible for everyone to read or understand them. Usually those pundits and all they are trained in reading those charts. So that is why obscure mystic charts on it, notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra. So the Panditji is opening and keeping his all his accessories, like putting it on the shop and starting the day. His forehead was dazzling with sacred ash and vermilion, and his eyes sparkled with sharp, abnormal gleam, which was really an outcome of a continual searching look for customers. So, again, if you have read this first question itself, which among the following is the word for the phrase bright and colorful in an impressive way? So his forehead was dazzling. So dazzling, something is dazzling when it is very bright, and for example, something has a lot of mirror kind of decoration. That is called dazzling. Something very reflective. That's dazzling. So his forehead was dazzling with sacred ash and vermilion. So that means this again, if you can think of a face of a pandit, you can remember that they have this tika kind of thing, which is often made of used by sacred ash or vermilion. It's vermilion is sindoor, that red kind of thing. So that tika that pandits and all they put on their forehead, it was shining. So shining, the another word for shining is shining very brightly is dazzling. So for your, if you again pay attention to this line, and if you have that question you just read few seconds ago in your mind, you will be able to solve your next question also. Which among the following is the word for phrase bright and colorful in an impressive way? So here option D is the correct answer, dazzling. His forehead was dazzling with sacred ash and vermilion. Okay, and his eyes sparkled with sharp abnormal gleam, which was really an outcome of a continual searching for customers, but which his simple clients took to be prophetic light and felt comforted. So basically, R.K. Lakshman is in a very witty manner, portraying the normal, regular day of a pandit or a pandit is again a very big word because pandit originally is used for somebody who's very knowledgeable. So here it is not the person who's very knowledgeable, but somebody who's just for whom this is just a business kind of thing. So in a slightly funny way, this has been portrayed by R.K. Lakshman that his forehead with the tilak and everything is shining brightly as if he has some sort of stage or some sort of power emanating from his forehead, but it's actually from that look for he's actually searching for customers, but his simple minded people who are very simple people, simple masses, who take it to be, as if he's some very high spiritual person, and his spirit, his aura is being revealed through that tilak. That is the kind of picture that is being presented here. The power of his eyes was considerably enhanced by their position, placed as they were between the painted forehead and the dark whiskers which streamed down his cheeks. Even a half wit's eyes would sparkle in such a setting. So, the way he made his customers sit and the way he sat, it made the power position in a manner as if you're looking up to the person and you're anyway looking him in a he's sitting in a position of dominance, sort of. So it felt like he has some sort of prophetic or godlike light or aura coming out of his eyes, because you're like looking at him in that manner. That is actually a very psychological trick that is played by these people even today. So it's very, in a very witty manner. This trick has been presented by R.K. Lakshman. He is an amazing writer. So the power of his eyes was considerably enhanced by their position, placed as they were between the painted forehead and the dark whiskers, which streamed down his cheeks. Even a half-wit's eyes would sparkle in such a setting. People were attracted to him as bees are attracted to cosmos or dahlia stalks. He sat under the boughs of a spreading tamarind tree which flanked a path running through the town hall park. So basically, he's sitting by a tree. So he doesn't even have a big shop or anything, table chair kind of thing. He's just sitting down a dahlia tree. And again, the whole description is about how his whole setup feels so divine and yet it's so regular. So it's all very, it's a setup after all. It's not something divine. It was a remarkable place in many ways. A surging crowd was always moving up and down this narrow road, morning till night. A variety of trades and occupations was represented all along its way: medicine sellers, sellers of stolen hardware and junk, magicians, and above all, an auctioneer of cheap clothes who created enough din all day to attract the whole town. So basically, now, if you again remember, there was a question about occupations and trades. So again, the moment you come across this phrase trades and occupation, you should remember that there was a question based on this. Sharpen your focus at this point. So what I mean by sharpening your focus is that there's a lot of energy required when you're reading something with 100% focus. So you cannot keep it for the whole duration. So you should know the moment you've come across something that requires very sharp attention. At that moment, you should have 100% focus. You can maybe slow down your speed a little. Otherwise, you could be just for like the pretty much the non-highlighted part. It's not an important piece of information. So you don't have to pay that much attention to it. You have to, but it's like 70% attention will still help you. But here, the moment you come across a phrase that you know has been asked in the question, at that point, maybe slow down a little. Maybe if you're reading something in few seconds, just like give it 1 or 2 seconds more, and because there's a very high chance that you find the answer in the next few lines. The moment you come across that phrase in the question, slow down a little, okay, a little. So trades and occupations are being listed here. So we'll get back to question and we'll solve it then. Let's first finish reading the passage. Next to him in vociferousness came a vendor of fried groundnut, who gave his ware a fancy name each day, calling it Bombay ice cream one day, and on the next, Delhi almond, and on the third, Raja delicacy. Again, these phrases have been asked in a question. So the moment you come across this, you know there is some answer in this part of the passage. Again, just look at the question again, and your answer will be here somewhere. Okay. So again, you have to sharpen your focus. So in this way, while reading only, you will know the moment you come across a question, you come across an answer. That is the best thing about this. You won't have to read it again. You won't have to look at the question answer again. So this is the best part about it. And in the passage now, basically, in the first in this at this portion, we were seeing that the person is setting up his her shop by the tree, and now we see the whole scenario that this is in a market where there are so many traders who have so many occupations, and then there is this another vendor who's selling fried groundnut, and he's trying to market it in different fancy names. Someday he would call it Bombay ice cream, another day he would call it Delhi almond, someday Raja's delicacy. That this is something special he's trying to sell. So he just says whatever he thinks would appeal people on whatever day. Okay. A considerable portion of this crowd dallied before the astrologer too. The astrologer transacted his business by the light of a flare which crackled and smoked up above the groundnut heap nearby. So again, this is just the whole reading. This whole comprehension is again, it is titled An Astrologer's Day. So in this whole passage, we are seeing how an astrologer starts his day by the midday, sets up his shop, and he sets up in a manner that he looks like he's somebody is very divine with his whole attire of very shining, dazzling tilak on his face, and then the way he sits, and then he makes his customers sit, and you know tells their future. All that gives a very heavenly or divine spiritual kind of vibe that any simple minded person would be very impressed. And then we see that how this whole setup is in a very crowded bazaar kind of setting, and then there are other vendors and all those things are being described. Okay, so I hope you've understood the passage and you've understood how you can read it in a focused manner. So our first question: which among the following is the word for phrase bright and colorful in an impressive way? So the option is option D, dazzling. We've done this. Which among the following is not a trade or occupation represented in the pathway running through the town hall park? So we came across this line: a variety of trades, medicine sellers, sellers of stolen hardware and junk, magicians, and above all, an auctioneer of cheap clothes. So we have here an auctioneer of cheap clothes, and option C says auctioneer of cheap bags. So the correct option is option C because it is asking about the trade that is not mentioned. Okay, so option C is the correct option. So you have to be very cautious also. While you have to be quick, while speed is important, accuracy is equally important. Somebody might just miss the knot. Okay, in that case you will miss some time in getting confused. Which among the following used names like Bombay ice cream, Delhi almond, and Raja's delicacy to attract the crowd? So the groundnut seller, because we came across these lines. Next to him in vociferousness came a vendor of fried groundnut who gave his ware a fancy name each day, calling it Bombay ice cream, etc. Which among the following is the meaning of the expression vociferousness? A. Expressing opinions or feelings in a loud and confident way. B. Words that are spoken or sung to have a magical effect. C. Willing or prepared to do something. Or D. To hang about aimlessly. So vociferous means expressing your like being loud. So in the passage, we come across this line: next to him in vociferousness came a vendor of fried groundnut. So basically, just right next to the astrologer's whole setup, there is this groundnut seller. He's like shouting and giving different names to his groundnut so that it looks something special and hence people come to buy it. So vociferousness here is expressing opinions or feelings in a loud and confident way. So like namkeen, namkeen, or groundnut, lilo groundnut, please buy groundnut, Bombay groundnut, something like that. Very, very smart person. When did the astrologer usually start his day's business? The answer lies in the very first line, punctually at midday. Okay. What was considered as prophetic light by simple clients of the astrologer? So here again we have this line: his eyes sparkled with a sharp abnormal gleam, but which his simple clients took to be a prophetic light and felt comforted. So option B, the sparkling eyes of the astrologer with an abnormal gleam. So here the abnormal gleam is when you're expectantly looking around for customers. If you're very expectant, so your eyes have that gleam, that shine. Gleam here means that shine. So because you're looking for something, you're like very eagerly looking. So your eyes will have that. So it's actually his eagerness for looking for clients, but it looks like he that some divine abnormal gleam is present in his eye. So very beautiful representation. Okay, let's get to our next reading comprehension. We can appreciate Mr. Lakshman sometime later also. So let's first quickly go through the questions as we did for the previous passage. This passage is The Right Kind of Education by J. Krishnamurti. Okay, so you might even want to read this is given at the end of the passage, that what this passage is about. So it quickly gives you an idea. Okay, this is what this passage is going to talk about: the right kind of education by J. Krishnamurti. According to the passage, why do we look for quick and easy remedies and hope for marvelous and automatic results? Okay, quick and easy remedies kind of, if you come across this something like this, we have to pay attention to that. What does the passage highlight as the quality of a parent who really desires to understand his child? Quality of parent. We have to remember this much, that something about quality of parents has been asked. So quality of parents. Just three words you have to keep in your short term memory at this point. What is the antonym of the word volatile? So if you know the meaning of volatile, deal with it right here. You will be done with one question. So you can still look at the options: stable, steady, constant. Now all the three mean have the same meaning. If you know any two of these also, like constant or stable, these are very common words. So you know constant and stable are same. So the third word could not have a very different meaning. But here, since antonym is being asked, so maybe steady alone could be antonym. So it's better if you know all the three. So in this case, all the three mean the same thing. So the option D would be the correct answer. So you can solve it right here. But suppose you do not know the meaning of volatile, then keep the word in your mind while reading the question. Sorry, while reading the passage, we'll see when we come across this word and we'll try to understand what it means from the context. Which of the following currently reflects the intention of author of this passage? So again, intention of the passage, purpose of the passage, that's something that we have to keep in mind. In light of the above passage, what will be the result of forcing a child to conform to the framework of an ideal? Again, forcing a child, wherever we come across some information around forcing a child to conform, we'll again pay attention to that. According to the author, what should be the attitude of a right kind of teacher? Attitude of right kind of teacher. So you see, there are so many questions. It gets sometimes a little heavy to hold that information. That is why I am emphasizing on the importance of practice. Because if you have not practiced, by the time you reach at question number 24, you will have forgotten what question number 19 said. Okay. So it's very, very important. If you practice it, this is going to be like it will make your English section very, very smooth. So this is the pro level. That is why I am uh, doing this at the very last in the PYQ, because this is, if you learn this technique, it's going to make your life so much easier. But if you have not practiced, I am again and again emphasizing, it will backfire, because it requires quite some amount of information to be kept in your temporary memory for the time you're reading the passage. Okay, so let's see. The right kind of education consists in understanding the child as he is without imposing upon him an ideal of what we think he should be. Is this the way? Haan, theek. To enclose him in the framework of an ideal is to encourage him to conform, which breeds fear and produces in him a constant conflict between what he is and what he should be. So we did come across the question about what will happen if we uh, force somebody student to conform. Okay, to enclose him in the framework of an ideal. That means, so basically, as we got from the title itself, this passage is about the right kind of education, how education should be. So the passage starts with the education should be about understanding the child as he is without imposing on him an ideal of what we think he should be. So we should not try to fit a child into some ideal. We should really try to understand how that child is, and we should plan his education or his future based on how he is rather than how we want him to be. To enclose him in the framework of an ideal is to encourage him to conform. Again, now if you have that question in your mind, you'll understand that this is about if we force a kid or a child to conform, to follow, specifically follow the rules, which breeds fear and produces in him a constant conflict of what he is and what he should be. So let's see what the question was. Which question was that? Okay. In the light of above passage, what will be the result of forcing a child to conform to the ideal? So, in that specific line, we can find our answer. It will create confusion and fear in the child, because the line says to enclose him in the framework of an ideal is to encourage him to conform, which breeds fear and produces in him constant conflict between what he is and what he should be. It will create confusion and fear in the child. Okay, so we see the exact word fear is being mentioned, and constant conflict means confusion. Okay, so again, see, if you have that in your mind, you can actually solve the question right there. In our relationship with children and young people, we are not dealing with mechanical devices that can be quickly repaired, but with living beings who are impressionable, volatile, sensitive, afraid, affectionate. So it is, the passage is saying that we should not think of children as some machine that we can, just mold them in whatever manner. We just put the key and they will start walking like a machine. No, we have to really understand them, because they are human beings which are not like machine. They have emotions, they are sensitive, they have fear, they are afraid, they have compassion, affectionate, and they are volatile also. Although it's been the word volatile here is mentioned in a very strategic manner, it might be difficult at this point to understand the meaning from the context, because the first word and the following word, the word following volatile, does not exactly relate to it. So, so the volatile here means something that is very disruptive, sort of something that is, that can, get out of way also. Not out of way, but something that is disruptive, that is, that has a lot of energy in it. So that's volatile. So somebody who's volatile could be somebody who can get angry very easily, or can get very worked up easily. So that is volatile. So again, at this point, in this specific case, I understand it's difficult to understand from the context. So let's see what volatile here is. Stable, steady, constant. That's definitely not a human-like quality, or that's not what volatile would be. But we all, like we did while reading the question, they all the three words have the same meaning. So definitely all the three are antonyms. So option D here means emotionally unstable or unpredictable. So it's opposite of stable, steady, and constant. All of these are correct antonyms. Okay, let's get back to the passage. And to deal with them, we have to have great understanding, the strength of patience and love. So basically, we don't have to deal with kids like as if we are dealing with machine, that we try to make them in a manner like we are following a manual, and that's how we will try to build them in a specific manner. No, they are sensitive. They have their own different composition of feeling. Somebody is more compassionate. Somebody is more temperamental. Somebody is say a sporty person, somebody is great with mathematics. So we don't have to put them all in the same manner and build machines. We have to think of them as human beings and try to uh, make the education fit the nature of the child rather than other things. Okay, if we are unaware, mechanical in our attitudes and actions, we fight shy of any demand upon us that is disturbing and that cannot be met by an automatic response, and that is one of our major difficulties in education. So again, if so, the now the author is saying, sorry, did I miss something? When we lack understanding, the strength of patience and love. Sorry. When we lack these, we look to quick and easy remedies and hope for marvelous and automatic results. Again, we had a question about quick and easy remedies. I'm sorry, I have not highlighted it here. We had a question about quick and easy remedies also. Okay, so when we lack these, that what when we lack patience and love, when we lack patience and love in education, that is, we are looking for quick and easy remedies. That means we are looking for shortcut, because trying to understand each child and then trying to educate to mold education according to child rather than child according to education would require a lot of uh, work on the part of educator also. And if that educator is not doing it, that person is trying to take shortcuts. So that means this person is looking for quick and easy remedies and hope for marvelous and automatic results. So that person is taking shortcuts and yet thinking that this person will get some good and amazing results. If we are okay, let's get to the question that asked about, yeah, according to the passage, why do we look for quick and easy remedies and hope for marvelous and automatic results? So because we lack understanding, patience and love, because the just before this, the line just before this specific words said, to deal with them we have to have great understanding, the strength of patience and love. When we lack these, we look to quick and easy remedies and hope for marvelous and automatic results. Okay, so if you have that phrase, quick and easy remedies, in your mind, you'll immediately reach the answer. Okay, so if we are unaware, mechanical in our attitudes and actions, we fight shy of any demand upon us that is disturbing and that cannot be met by an automatic response. And this is one of our major difficulties in education. So basically, if we are unaware of, like, basically, again, if we are not being patient and if our approach is not full of compassion and love, that means we are just being very ignorant and we are being very mechanical in our approach and our attitude, and then we are not following our responsibility, the demand that is uh, expected of a educator, and that is very problematic thing. So that's very difficult, that's a difficult thing in the education. So basically, the right kind of education is when it is as per the nature of the child rather than focused on molding a child as per some sort of ideal, that this is how you should become irrespective of whatever the kind of person that you are. Okay, now we have solved the questions, but still just for the sake of clarity, let's go through these quickly. According to the passage, why do we look for quick and easy remedies and hope for marvelous and automatic results? Because we lack understanding, patience, and love. What does the passage highlight as the quality of a parent who really desires to understand his child? Okay, we missed this one. They observe, study the tendencies, moods, and peculiarities of the child. So the passage said, if the parent loves the child, he observes him, he studies his tendencies, his moods, and peculiarities. Okay. What is the antonym of the word volatile? All of the above, we did this one also. Which among the following currently reflects the intention of the author of this passage? So, again, the right kind of education for a child cannot be without love, care, and understanding. So, if you understood the passage, you will be able to answer this also. And right from the title itself, you can understand what this passage is about. The passage is about the right kind of education. That's the title also. So it's very, that's why it should, you should quickly glance through the title also, that like what this title is. That way you'll understand in a very small manner, in a very short, uh, in very few words, what the passage is going to be about. In the light of above passage, what will be the result of forcing a child to conform to the framework of an ideal? It will create confusion and fear in the child. We did this one also. According to the author, what should be the attitude of a right kind of teacher? They should focus on studying each student individually. If the teacher is of the right kind, he will not depend on a method, but will study each individual pupil. Okay, this is what the passage says. Did we come across this line? I also forgot. Yeah, did we come across this line? Okay. So, okay, this was the last option. So, with this, we've come to the end of this passage. I hope you've understood how we start through reading the questions, and that gives us the target points in the reading passage, and that's how we solve the passage. So, you do understand the idea is that you have to find the information of your use from the whole stack of information that the passage is providing. And if you are able to do that, then you can very easily excel in the reading comprehension questions, which is pretty much the whole passage. If you just develop this skill, this is going to be very helpful all through your in other sections as well. Okay. So thank you so much for your patience. I'll see you with the next question paper. Bye bye.